Love handles are one of the hardest areas of body fat to get rid of, but losing them is actually pretty simple. Despite popular belief, no, you don't have to starve yourself. In fact, doing that is one of the worst things you could do. So today I'm going to show you the 5 steps you need to take to finally lose those love handles. So the first step is making sure you don't rush this process. That's why I say starvation is one of the worst things you can do, because what this does is it sends up a bunch of red flags and basically tells it there's a shortage of food around. It starts to alter its hormones, your metabolism slows down, and your body's going to fight you every step of the way. And the thing with love handles is, especially for guys, it tends to be the last area of body fat to go, which means you have to lose body fat from all the other areas of your body first before you're going to see those results. And if you try to rush the process and lose weight too fast, sure, it's exciting to see those faster results up front, but then when you get stuck, you've now trapped yourself and you're not going to be able to see those results you want. So a good pace of weight loss to make sure you're not sacrificing your metabolism too much is between about 0.5 to 1% of your body weight on average per week. But also understand, make sure you're not only looking at the scale. I mean, take my transformation here, for instance. You might be shocked to know that my average pace of weight loss per week was 0.6 pounds. But trust me, nobody came to me and said, wow, your results are way too slow, you should just give up. No, be patient and you will get there in time. Okay, so now that you know the rough pace of weight loss you're looking for, now we need to talk about step 2, how to create that pace, starting with the nutrition side of things. And you want to make sure you have accountability, which is why I recommend tracking your intake. Almost by default, when you track, you tend to clean up your diet more, you eat a bit less, you hit your protein numbers better, and this is going to not only give you better results, but then you also know how to make adjustments when you hit those inevitable pesky weight loss plateaus. So to create the pace of weight loss we're looking for, most people do pretty well around about a 20% decrease from your maintenance calories. Now you can use things like online calculators like a TDEE calculator, that's fine. They're not necessarily the most accurate things in the world. I find they tend to overshoot a little bit. So what might be better is taking the next week and just kind of roughly eating the same, but now tracking it, seeing what it looks like, and if you've been maintaining your weight, you know that's roughly your maintenance calories. But no matter how you get your maintenance calories, it's always about being consistent, monitoring, and adjusting based on how things are going. But either way, once you have your starting calories, just make sure you're being consistent with that. You don't have to hit the same numbers every day. You don't have to be in a calorie deficit every single day. You can have high days and low days. You're just looking to get your average roughly within about 50 calories by the end of the week. But you do want to make sure you're paying attention to protein. It's far and away the most important macronutrient. It's what builds muscle. It has a high thermic effect of food. It helps you feel full. So I recommend eating around 1 gram per pound of whatever your goal weight might be. And then when it comes to carbs and fats, don't worry too much at first. Research has consistently shown whether you prefer one or the other. Doesn't really matter when it comes to fat loss. As you get leaner and the process is getting a bit tougher, you just want to make sure you're not dipping below about 20% of your total calories coming from fat. But ultimately, don't get too caught up in that. Okay, with nutrition out of the way, that brings us to the exercise side of things. So step 3 is about strength training. Make sure you do not skip this step. I don't care if you want a super muscular physique or not. Weight training is essential to get to those lower levels of body fat. It actually impacts your metabolism, so it makes it easier to burn more body fat. Yes, you burn some calories with it. I'll talk more about that in the next step. But even just having more muscles, especially in like the upper area of your body, it's gonna give you more of that appearance of that V tape you're looking for and make it look like your love handles are smaller, even if you haven't seen significant progress there yet. And the other nice thing about strength training is it basically keeps your body burning calories like all the time. Research has shown that you burn additional calories at rest just trying to recover from strength training for up to 48 hours. But don't feel like that means that you should be training every single day. I find most people do pretty great between about 3 and 5 days per week. You just want to be consistent with it. Now, just because strength training is so important doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing cardio. That's what step 3 is about, because while strength training is great for your metabolism and keeping your body burning extra calories, you don't burn many calories during the exercise itself, and you can typically burn quite a bit more through cardiovascular activity. So remember, a calorie deficit is what's required to lose body fat, but you can create deficit by, yes, eating less calories like we've already talked about, but also expending more calories through your activity. How big of a difference this makes kind of depends on your lifestyle in general. For instance, I find people who are more sedentary in general get a lot more out of their cardio versus someone who has like a really active job. If you're already getting 10, 15,000 steps a day, you're moving around and you're doing heavy labor and stuff, extra expenditure through cardio isn't going to do you quite as much. Now, this doesn't mean you have to just blast yourself with high intensity types of cardio. In fact, I typically don't recommend them very much because they do wear you down so much. Then what can happen is you end up being so tired that you move around a lot less. So what I really recommend doing is tracking your steps, seeing how many you average right now, and then you can just simply start by walking more. Just take another 3,000 steps or so per day, and then as you hit plateaus, you can increase increase your steps a bit more. You can increase the speed of your walking. You can walk on a treadmill and use the incline to get more out of that. So it gives you a lot of options, and your body preferentially uses fat for fuel at these lower intensity forms of cardio. That doesn't mean it has to be walking. It's just a convenient way to do it. But if you prefer like cycling or elliptical or something that's just more lower to moderate and that's what you enjoy, great. But just like you don't want to create too big of a deficit with your calories, you don't want to just blast yourself with tons of cardio right off the bat either. Simply doing 20 to 30 minutes of cardio 3 to 4 days per week while also increasing your steps can make a huge difference, and then you also leave room to make more adjustments as you hit plateaus. Which, speaking of plateaus, I'm going to touch more on that later. A lot of times when people do hit plateaus, it's not necessarily because the body's adapted. This is going to happen. It's called adaptive thermogenesis. Your body's going to adapt to what you do. Your metabolism's going to slow down. By controlling your pace of weight loss, you ensure that it doesn't happen as frequently or as fast, but it's still going to happen to a degree. But I find a lot of times it's not really metabolic adaptation that's keeping you from losing weight, and that's where step 5 comes in. You want to make sure you're accurately accounting for your intake. So I talked earlier about the importance of tracking your intake, and it is very important, but it can get really easy to not pay very close attention. You're not measuring your food on a food scale. You're taking a lot of extra bites and tastes, or you're going out on the weekend and you're having meals that you're pretending like never happened. I'm not saying you can't ever have days where you go out and enjoy yourself. The lifestyle has to be sustainable. You don't have to be perfect, but if you're massively blowing out and not counting for it, you can undo your entire week in a hurry. So if you find that you're stuck, just take some time to make sure you're being accurate with things, and you wouldn't believe how big of a difference it can make. But that's just one thing you can do to help break through weight loss plateaus. So if you want to know more about what to do when you hit these inevitable plateaus, make sure you check out this video next, and I'll cover several strategies you can take to get weight loss moving again. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in that other video.